So here we are, part 2 of my RC rock crawler build, indoor track build, and as you can see it's a little different now from my first one. I've now put the original piece that I built here on a piece of 2x4 plywood, and am now building it up and used some styrofoam spray insulation to put a base down on the plywood, so I've got some contour there, and I will add some rocks and stuff to it as I get to that. But I just wanted to give you a look at the addition in the back corner here. I put on another little bit of a hill, and I wanted to just show you how I'm doing this paper mache and how it's looking and working out. So I'll just get you in on what I'm working on here. Just bear with me a second. Hopefully the video's not too bad. I've got a better video camera. This is not my cell phone that I've been using. This is a camera. It's not the best I have, but I have a new one coming, so the videos will get a little bit better. So hopefully this turns out okay. Anyway, so here is, you can see that I've been paper macheing here this morning a little bit. I just started this today. It was all just bare styrofoam when I started. I built this up last night, and now I'm just paper macheing it. So just to give you a brief look at the paper mache, so it's just a very, very thin liquid of flour, water, and PVC glue, a little bit watered down. So you can see that it's fairly watery. I find that this works really well. I played around with it a little bit on the first piece that I did here, that I showed yesterday, and that I attached to the board first, and then built off of that with the styrofoam and this hill over here. It worked out really well, so I'm keeping with that recipe. It's nice and hard. This is dried up really good. There's not much push play in it. This is all styrofoam again, same as this here, out of an TV box styrofoam that I had from a TV box. So I've got some done here. I will show you how I'm doing this, and it's turning out pretty good. And this will be one piece of many. This allows me, this 2x4 piece of plywood will allow me to do other 2x4 pieces. So it's just a full sheet of plywood cut into 4, and it'll allow me to move it around, easier to set up in the house and in the basement here, where I don't have a whole lot of room at the workshop area. But here at the house, which is my workshop in the basement, I plan on doing some practicing with my new TRX4 from Traxxas coming. I haven't got it yet, but it's on order, and it's my first time ever doing that type of RC, so I wanted to build something in the basement that'll help me practice until spring comes along and I can get outdoors into the real rocks and dirt and mud and play. But I wanted to teach myself a little bit inside. I've been watching lots of videos, and as we all know, the videos work really well to help us learn and figure other things out. So I was hoping to do the same thing for you, this giving you an idea of what I'm doing in my plan and how it's turning out. Maybe others can use this and make their own indoor crawlers. Okay, so we'll just do a quick, give you a little bit of a 5-10 minute video here of how I'm laying this down. So I've taken my paper, which is the blue shop towel that you can buy anywhere here in Canada, Canadian Tire, Walmart, very cheap. It's $2 Canadian for a roll. It's not very expensive at all, so you get lots out of a full roll. This here, I haven't used a full roll yet. So here's the roll that I'm at. So as you can see, I haven't even used the full roll, which did the first piece, which I did 2 layers on. So you get quite a bit. So I've cut them into small pieces, and once you do that, I'll move this over here just to give you an idea. I don't want to keep it there. I don't want it to spill in on my project here. But so I just take these pieces, and some of them in the contours that I'm working on, they're very tight. These little rock faces that I'm trying to mimic here, you got little pieces of styrofoam that you have to really get in and around, because I wanted to keep it as realistic as I could. So as you can see, like even in the holes here, I don't fill that in. I'm making each rock look like it's a rock on the side of a face. I even put a little bit of a cave in here on this one, filled this up a little bit inside with spray foam insulation also, but just for the realism of it. Yeah, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I don't want to just throw something together and then start making it look like crap. I wanted to be able to show you guys at home what I do at my home and how I'd like to make it look. Eventually, you know, others may want to come over to my place and practice on this during the winter once I meet some other crawlers in the area. So all I do is I take these and I lay them in, and I'm going to cut these a little bit in half again, like I said, because I've got some contours in there that are really tight. So I just take about 3 pieces at a time and I lay it in, and you just let them sit there till they get wet. Once you start seeing it come through the other side of the paper, you start seeing the wet look, then you can remove it. It only takes a couple seconds, and you just let them sit there for a minute. I got some hot glue there. So all this is hot glued on, except for the spray styrofoam. I put it on the bare spots of the plywood in between these 2 areas, and built a little bit of hill on this side, which I'll show you in a bit. Just so that I have some ground contour. It looks like it's ground, not just flat plywood. So my plan to finish all this off is I was watching some YouTube videos on H-scale terrain builders, and they use sanded grout. So I'm going to be putting sanded grout over top of this, a diluted solution. You can use a paintbrush to put it on. I watched a couple videos of how they do it, and it seems to work well for them on their foam and their cushion foam too. It hardens it up really well, and it sticks. So I'm going to give it a try and see how it works. I'm not sure if it's going to stick. Hopefully it will. This is paper, so it should stick to the paper fairly well, even though it's a bit hard. So once I get to that point of the build, I will definitely be putting up a video on how I'm doing that. Once I figure out how I'm going to do that, I'll definitely put a video up. So anyway, these should be ready. So I'm just going to move this out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing here. So as you can see, I've got lots more to fill, lots of contours over here, and lots in here to do. So we'll continue down in here. I've been working on this for a couple hours today. This took about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, so it is time consuming. Excuse my furnace from kicking in if you can hear that. I'm in my basement and it is winter here in Canada, and I've got to keep the house warm. So anyways, you take your piece, as you're pulling it out of the container, I use a pair of small hobby tweezers. You just take the excess off, so you don't have a lot of excess. You can see it's just a wet piece of shop tufts. And you start to lay it down. And the idea is for me, is not to get as many bends and curls in it as possible. So you try to get it contoured to the piece that you're working on. So of course, as you can see, you bring it up, and then you're going to have to fold it down, and then get it into crevices. I also use this little tool here. It's a little pick tool. I think it's a dentist tool that I found at a yard sale, and I use it on my RCs for getting pieces and nuts and bolts out of tight spots and stuff. So I picked them up at a yard sale, I believe, quite a few years ago. I got 3 or 4 of them, and you just push and you help get that pushed. It helps you push it into the corners and to get that nice square, rocky look. It doesn't take long to put each piece in. Once you're in flat areas, it flies by really quick. But because we're doing some contour work here, it takes a little bit extra time. So once you get that done, you just keep pulling out more pieces, and that's why I only do 3 at a time, so they don't get too wet. As you can see, I got some white here, so I got to figure out how I'm going to do that. And overlaying it is fine, because it builds up the strength in it. The thicker it is, the harder it's going to be against the styrofoam, and it won't have so much play in it. So then I'm going to go this way with it. And again, following that contour of this one piece of styrofoam that I've got glued on here that looks like a rock face coming out of the rock face. So then it doesn't matter how long it is. You just, once you get it in there, then you just get your corners all nice and flat. Flatter for me, like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I like to make it look as real as possible. Kind of tuck it in the back there. I want no styrofoam exposed anywhere. I want to be able to get that grout in there with a paintbrush into each one of these contours to make it look as real as possible. So as you can see, it's not hard by any means. Like kids use this for making, you know, lots of different bowls and stuff. Like kids use this stuff. So it's not hard to use. It's just a little time consuming depending on the size of your project. So now I got a bigger piece. And we'll start doing this flat end here. As you can see, I got a bit of a gap here, so I want to cover that, and it's fine to have a little bit of a gap there. It's not going to hurt anything. I don't think the trucks are going to push through that when I'm coming up on it. The tires are pretty wide, so we're just going to cover it in this sort. And here you don't have to be so delicate, because you just press it down and I rub it and try to get some of the excess out from underneath it so that it sticks really, really well. And as you can see, here I'm just gonna, like, I got a bit of a gap there, so to make the realism of the rock a little bit more, it adds to it. I'm sure that'll fill in with the grout a little bit, but okay. Now we got to put some more of these in. I got to cut some more small ones here. So yeah, this is my idea that I had in my head when I looked at a few videos online of how guys were building their indoor rock crawling courses. And there's a lot out there, trust me. Get on the internet, do a search on in-home rock crawling, and you can find tons of pictures. And of course, YouTube's got a few. A lot of guys out there are actually using rocks. I prefer not to do that. That's a lot of humping rocks up and down the stairs. This was the most cheapest and economical way that I figured out to do. And using the styrofoam, I've seen this online. Lots of guys do it. Even retail stores in the States have rock crawling displays set up so you can go and pardon me, you can go and rock crawl on there. And they're huge, and they use this spray on styrofoam, and it works really well. You let it sit 10-15 minutes after you put it on. I put it on pretty thin here just to cover the top. It's about a half an inch thick, and put on a pair of latex gloves, wet them down, wet the surface of this down, wait 15 minutes, then you can start compressing it and really start to compress it. So this is pretty solid and compressed. You can see the lines where I did it, but I compressed it the best you can. Once you get the paper mache on there, which I plan on paper macheing over all of this so that the grout has something to stick to, you'll see contours and stuff, and I'll be putting in, probably put in a few more styrofoam blocks as I do the paper mache, but it'll look like normal ground. So that's my plan. So we got some more in there. We'll just carry on and let you see how the progress goes and how it is time consuming, don't get me wrong, but it does, I got a little bit of satisfaction when I finished the first piece and I stood back and I took a picture of it and then looked at it later on my iPad, and yeah, I was pretty impressed at how it turned out. It looks real. It's diorama style building here, but I'm doing it for rock crawling. And eventually, I think what I'll do is probably go a little bit bigger on the other pieces, of course, because my TRX4 that's coming is 1/10 scale. But I would like to get a micro rock crawler to play with also, and they're getting harder to find. There are some RC 4-wheel drive has the Granada 2, which is a Jeep. It's actually a Land Rover Jeep style vehicle that's I think it's 1/24 scale. That looks pretty interesting for a scale 4x4, but the rock crawlers, they're getting hard to find. The EXC has one, which is a Horizon Hobby product. I know Red Cat Racing, pardon me, has one, the Everest, in a 1/16 scale. But I think even a 1/16 scale is a little bit bigger than I want to go. I'm not sure. I haven't seen them personally. Pictures online just don't give you a true look at what it is. So as you see, I'm just plugging away here, trying to get all of these styrofoam blocks covered with the paper mache. And the more that you do, you start seeing it come together. Like this, compared to this, is a world of difference. Like this just looks like a ball of white styrofoam, right? And it's a thought. It's building it as you think it's going to look like when it's done. It took me about 2 hours last night to put this piece on the board, build this up, and put this styrofoam down and let it sit. And then I let it sit overnight, and then here I am this morning. I only got a couple days left of Christmas holidays here, and I'm back to work after this weekend. So I've been working at it quite a bit, killing my holidays, enjoying what I do is down in the radioactive RC workshop. And as you all see on my YouTube channel, I've got it marked as radioactive hobbies, radioactive RC, and I have to wait 90 days before I can change the name of the channel. When I decided to put the channel up, I was kind of not sure what I wanted to call it, so I called it Dwayne's RC and Dwayne's Fun RC and Great Outdoors, and then I said, well, I'm going to use the radioactive. I came up with radioactive RC, and it's a little bit better. So once I get the clearance there from YouTube in 90 days, because I changed the name about 3 times, and I guess you're only allowed to do it 3 times. Being new to YouTube, I wasn't aware of that, so I can only do it in 90 days from the day I started my page, which is going to be now quite a while, probably March time frame that I can change the name. But we'll get that changed up, and then people will be able to search it a little bit easier when it comes to the theme of my page, which is mainly going to be RCs and a bit of the great outdoors here in Canada. Like I said in my intro video, I do a lot of camping and quadding and stuff. In the summer, I have a seasonal campsite that I spend a lot of time at. And I do a lot of RCing out there, and there's a lot of neat areas to go with these scale rock 4x4 trucks. So I'm looking forward to that. I do a lot of with my 1/5 scale gas out there and stuff, beating it around up and down the trails and stuff that are out there for the quads. But I think that the trail scale truck is going to be a lot more interesting, and there's some spots out there that I can't take my gas trucks that are rocky and hilly, and they don't perform as well out there like these scale trucks will do. So I'm really looking forward to this Traxxas TRX4. I'm kind of excited to get it home and get it out in the spring and see what it can do. I've watched multiple videos of it, and I was pretty impressed by the technology of the truck with the dual locking diffs and actually remote control, believe it or not. Yeah, if you haven't looked at it, the TRX4 from Traxxas, the Land Rover Defender, have a look. It's pretty innovative. I'm pretty impressed with it. It's like I said, it's Traxxas's first step into that scale, and I've always been a Traxxas fan. As you know, I've got the E-Revo 1/16 scale, and I've got the Slash 1/16 scale, and I used to have quite a few Traxxases before I got into the gas when I was a bit younger, when I was just doing electric. But now that I'm getting kind of back into the electric, I've been interested in seeing the new technology and picked up a few vehicles. Now the 4x4 scale has really piqued my interest. Getting older in life, I guess, the fun of RCs for me has always been there. I've been into it since I was a kid, like I mentioned in my intro. And yeah, so looking forward to trying something new in the hobby, and RC Spark Studio and Medic there has really rejuvenated me into getting back into it. I've always had the shop here down in the basement. I've always had RCs. I've been down, I've had 10, 15 at a time, down to 1 or 2, and now I've got the 3 big 1/5 scale gas, and currently just the 2 small 1/16 size Traxxas. But now I've got the TRX coming, so I'm building my stock again, and then I'm thinking the next will be another crawler build. I'm just not sure which one yet. So yeah, so hopefully everybody is seeing what I'm doing here, and I'm babbling on, so we'll just keep going a little bit longer here for you, so I get a half decent video up. Most of my videos are only like 10-15 minutes due to the recording device that I have. I don't have anything that great yet. I do have an idea of what I want to get to help with the videos, but at this time I just don't have anything yet. I've been using my cell phone, my Samsung tablet, and now this Nikon camera, which I'm hoping it's 12 megapixel camera, so I'm hoping the videos aren't too bad until I get something better. I do have a Air Pro sports camera, but it's a fisheye look. You get that, it's a wide angle, so you get that bubbly look, and I don't like that look, especially here on YouTube. I've seen lots of videos that are not such great quality on YouTube, and it's hard to see them. It's not that they weren't good videos, they just hard to get a good clear shot of what's going on with today's technology and the cell phone cameras and all the good stuff that we got out there. We should be able to get some better videos up. So hopefully either I'll get a setup for my tripod that I can put my cell phone on and use my cell phone camera, which is a good camera, of course. Most of us know those are fairly good video video cameras and photograph cameras, so I've taken a couple with them now, and those videos, first original videos on my page site, have turned out really good. But yeah, so hopefully this turns out alright. You guys can see what I'm doing. I've zoomed in a little bit so you can get a better look at the contours that you have to work with. And sometimes it's a little tedious, like in this one here. I'm trying to get this covered up here in this corner and keep the look of the rock itself, simulation of the rock itself, coming out of the side of the hill or the mountain. And you've got to make sure, I got to make sure I cover all the styrofoam, which will help me with the adhesion, I think, with the grout when I get around to that, which probably won't be for a while. Now that I'm going back to work, I'm not going to have as much time to work on this. So this weekend I'm going to really go hard at this and see if I can at least get the paper mache done, and then get it to dry up really good, and then start the grout. And in here I've left an open spot, as you can see. And here I plan on just putting some rocks. So what I've got is I got a bag of little tiny rocks, almost like fish tank rocks. They've been hanging around when my kids were really young for crafts and stuff, and I've got a pretty good amount in that little bag. So that little bag, I'm just going to lay down some white glue, PVC glue inside here when I get it all done up, and I'm just going to lay that out and bring it up into the cave a little bit, just for the realism again of it, and see how that turns out, and then maybe put a clear coat on them just so they stay in place when the crawlers go across and they're not jumbling around and making a mess on my basement floor. So we'll just keep on plugging away here, and I might need to get some smaller pieces. I've got lots of blue towel cut. I cut a whole bunch before I started the video so I wouldn't run out. But yeah, so we're looking pretty good. We're getting this contour in here really, really good, and getting to the top. And the top I'm going to save till I get all this rock face contouring done here. So we're going to start from the bottom here. You see I got a little bit extra on there. I want to get that off, because that's where the white comes and that's where the mold can build. That's the flour in the mix. So we're going to try this. This is just a tear off piece to make it look like a rounder, pardon me, a rounder rock. So I might need just some smaller pieces in there. And you really push it in there around that piece, and it takes to the contours of it pretty good. And the newspaper didn't do that, so that's why I went with this blue cloth shop towel, and I got lots of this lying around. I love this stuff. I use it for everything. I got tons of this out of my seasonal campsite in my trailer, my shed out there. I use it for everything. This is really good stuff, and it seems to really do this well, because this turned out really good, and I'm happy with how it hardened up. So I'm going to continue to use it, and like I said earlier, it's really cheap. And we're watching the IHF junior hockey game here on the TV, if you can hear it in the background. The U.S. And the Czechs going for bronze, and of course, being Canadian, I'll be watching that Canada game tonight, going for gold. Hopefully we can get it back into Canada this year after losing the last couple of years here. The gold medal anyways. Last year we lost to the Americans, everyone knows that, in the shootout. So hopefully this year we do better. We'll just keep plugging away here. I will try not to ramble on too terribly much, and just show you how I'm doing this. So I'm just going to take my little pick here, and we're going to push that in underneath this one, so you can see there's a bit of a gap there. And I like how it looks with the realism, and I think some of that will get filled in and you won't notice it with the grout, but I'm going to try and do it so you don't. Like, I might even just do a little bit of painting in areas that I don't want the grout to be in. Like, the grout's a dark brown. I think they call it, I can't remember what it was, tobacco brown I think it was called. So if I put some paint in these areas in here to kind of match that, then I'm not losing that realism. Like, I'm sure some HO training guys would be really impressed with this and love to have it for their train setups because of the realism in it. And I've spent a lot of time on it. You know, 2, 3, 4 days now. 4 days probably, on and off during the day. Take a break here and there. I live down here in my shop quite a bit with the boss upstairs watching her shows. This allows me to come down and play around a bit. And I got the big 40-inch, bigger 40-inch TV down here that I can watch my games and whatever I want to watch. But the best part is I'm working on my RCs or searching the internet. I got a laptop down here that normally sits right here on my laptop table, but this has gotten bigger, so I have to move it so that I could get some work done on this. So we're just waiting for a couple more pieces here to get soft. I have a little bit of my coffee here. Yeah, so I've done a little bit of work in the shop over the holidays here too. I did extend out a piece of table here, workshop counter space, so I could have my laptop closer to me, and I could face the TV at the same time. So just below this, I've put on an addition, like an L shape, off this one workbench. This is my main workbench here, and I've put an L shape off there, so I can have the laptop sitting to the side. And if I'm watching YouTube videos on RC stuff, or I'm working on something and I need a reference from YouTube, I've got it right close. I don't have to go back and forth. I can watch it and work at the same time. So I had to do a little rearranging down here. I did show a video of my shop earlier, a week ago, I guess, or almost 2 weeks ago now, when I started this channel. And I'll do another one because I did make some changes. I got rid of some sticky wall hooks that I have on my parts on, and now I've got them on a pegboard style that I'll show you here. Like, I can get up here while those are soaking. I got a pegboard that I bought at Walmart. They weren't too expensive right here, and you know, it cost me, I think, $10 a piece. And then I painted them blue. They come black, and I painted them blue to give me a little bit more light. And I did the same over here for my parts wall. So now I've got all my parts wall basically. Oh, let me back up here so you get a better shot. Basically all on those, hanging on those pegboards. Turned out really well. Pretty happy with it. It's filled up. My parts did fill it, but it's pretty good. So anyways, I think we'll end her there, and you have an idea of where I'm going, what I'm doing. And again, thanks everybody for watching, and hopefully this gives you an idea yourselves about building your own rock crawling course. This is just the beginning of mine. One little piece for me. Oh, I'll zoom out there so you can see some of the realism in it. What I've done. It looks pretty good to me. There's the hill I was talking about I built in there. And then the addition to it here, and then the styrofoam. So again, hopefully you guys found this useful and enjoyed the short video. And again, I'll do another video when I start moving on to the grout. That'll be the part 3. Once I get this all paper mache'd up and finished, I'll give you a look at that. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to watch more. I'm sorry I only got a few videos up, but there'll be more to come in the future. Comments would be great on if you have any ideas of how to help me build this indoor crawler, and definitely for a 1/10 scale. This is a little small, but I think once I get it built up with other pieces, I have an idea of how big I want to go, and the bigger hills and bigger challenges for the 1/10 scale. But for a micro, this would be really good, and I think I'll pick one of those up next time I'm close to a hobby shop, or I'll check online for that. Alright, so take care everybody, and thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next part 3 video of my RC crawler indoor course.